I want you to imagine something for a moment, and that is that you have just found either the condo or the townhome of your absolute dreams. Doesn't matter how long you've been looking for it, this place is absolutely perfect in every single way. Not only have you saved up for it, but you've also made the sacrifices to become a homeowner in the province of British Columbia, which isn't an easy feat. What happens though when everything you thought you knew gets turned completely upside down? The rules completely change. Well, for many, this is exactly what has happened since November of 2022, just about 6 months ago. In fact, anybody living in a condominium or a townhouse complex has had to be very cautious and pay very close attention since this time. As age restrictions, with the exception of having a complex up to 55 plus for the age of the residents, were abolished in British Columbia, there's been some major problems with stratas all across the province. Today's video is all about what the problems are, what to watch out for if you're a new buyer to the market or a homeowner. And I'm also going to share with you about today's latest announcement that just leveled the playing field, well, for everybody out there. And if you are someone that's looking to buy a home, you're going to want to hang around to the end of this video. If you think you know everything there is to know about buying a home, I've got 10 questions for you that if you don't get them all right, you better rethink your plans or at least your strategy before you get started. But before that, let's jump into today's video. So what's the problem? What happened? What is all the big hubbubaloo about? Yeah, I just said hubbubaloo. Announced in November of 2022, the BC government made two pretty significant announcements related to the ownership and the buying of strata properties all across British Columbia. These two announcements were effectively to remove the ability to restrict rentals on stratas, that's condos and townhomes, right across the province. That's right, you can fully rent out any strata across the province now, which is probably a good thing considering we've got a
massive housing shortage.
The other significant change they made is removing all age restrictions from strata buildings with the exception of any buildings that were at the 55 and older mark. You may or may have not known, but there is buildings, or were buildings for that matter, that used to have age restrictions of 19 and older, 35 and older, 45 and older, and those are all gone now. You can only have a restriction of 55 plus. Regardless of where you sit with this, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, it doesn't really matter because it's happened, it's too late. But the really bad thing is there were some pretty significant unintended consequences that came with this announcement when it was made, consequences that have been rolling out over the last roughly 6 months since it was passed as a bill. Stratas all over the Lower Mainland started moving their age restrictions that were just abolished up to the 55 plus mark. In fact, it's estimated that hundreds of stratas across the province did this. Now, for them to pull something like this off, it takes a 3/4 vote or 75% plus one vote to make such a significant change within the ownership. For the last 6 months, people have been going and purchasing in these complexes thinking, no problem, I can now raise a family here, whether they have a family or not, or maybe they're bringing in their already existing children. Everything was good. It was a great day to become a strata owner. Well, until these stratas started to get a little creative and, well, a little sneaky. For any age restrictions that maybe once existed and were abolished with this new announcement, they now were looking to move the age restriction from whatever it may have used to been, which was then abolished, up to the age of a 55 plus complex. This would effectively mean anybody that's living there would now not be able to have their children live there or start a family in the near future. Not only is this incredibly short-sighted by these stratas, and I mean incredibly short-sighted, changing a strata to have an age restriction of 55 plus limits a large number of the market that's able to buy that unit or within that complex. And that's a big problem. Oftentimes this will have a significant effect on the overall saleability of that property and will have an enormous effect on the final sale price of those properties. This is for a really simple reason. You shrink the pool of available people that might be able to live in a complex, well, it's not worth as much anymore. This means that any strata that introduced a 55 plus age limit as a result of this November announcement just cost all of their owners a significant chunk of dough. That's not the only problem though. This decision by these strata corporations to move up to a 55 plus age limit when they weren't previously like that, well, that ruins people's lives. Take the story of Kalina and Artem, who was featured on CBC not so long ago, about the problems that they had to endure when they got caught in the messy middle of all of these decisions. They bought a condominium in Vancouver, and their plans were to start a family in this building that now allowed to have children in it. The problem was, this building had about 90 units in it, and the majority of the owners were over the age of 55. Their strata wanted to introduce an age restriction, effectively eliminating their ability to have a family here. This means they either have to hold off on their plans to start a family, or they have to sell their unit and go buy somewhere else. That's not okay, and that is definitely not cool. Not only does this affect people that are looking to start families, but what about investors that bought into complexes that thought they could obviously rent them out to anybody now based on the new rules, and the pool of available renters just shrunk to only those at the age of 55 and over. What a mess, right? Well, in comes the BC government like a knight in shining armor, because as of today, they are putting an end to this type of practice. The province announced Monday that people currently living in buildings with 55 and over bylaws are now able to move in future children, dependents, and spouses or partners who are under that age, according to a new amendment to the strata regulations. This amendment came into effect immediately today. It also means that adult children or former dependents of current residents are able to move back in with their parents or their former caregivers, and that current residents can start a family if they wish. So I've got to applaud the BC government for doing this and moving kind of quick on it. I mean, it's been 6 months and it's been a problem that's been known about for a while, but at least there is a little bit of resolution to it. It's definitely a great announcement for younger people under the age of 55 or anybody looking to purchase a home. It's possibly bad news for people that are of the age of 55 or older that just hope that they change their strata corporation or their complex into a complex that's not going to allow for young people or kids. And it's even more confusing for the people out there like you who might be trying to buy a home. While today's announcement is generally a good thing, it prevented strata corporations from circumventing what was meant to be a really good announcement. There is still one problem, and that problem is the lack of understanding in the value of making good decisions the first time around, not backpedaling after 6 months when a brash decision is initially made. It's been 6 months since the initial decision was made to remove age restrictions excluding 55 plus, but the backlash and unintended consequences of making that decision don't seem like they were probably thought out in the best manner. And that means it's been 6 months of ups and downs for not only home buyers, but homeowners all across the province. This just goes to show the value of consulting with industry experts when these major housing decisions are made. And if you live in British Columbia, you know there has been a ton made lately, some that I think are absolutely amazing and some that are going to be pretty problematic. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you know a lot of what I'm talking about. And if you're not a regular viewer of this channel, make sure you subscribe because you will likely get to learn about a lot more. So that's the big decision today. And I'm curious what you think. And I really am generally curious. Do you think having complexes that only allow for owners to be over the age of 55 is a good thing? Or do you think it's kind of discriminatory? Is it even a fair thing? And what would happen if the tables were turned? What if you had a rule that prevented anybody over the age of 55 from owning in a strata? What kind of backlash might that create? What if the tables were reversed? I'm curious to know what you think. So leave your comment below and let me know what you think of the content of this video as well as your opinion on the questions. And while you're down there, you're going to find the link to the 10 questions I mentioned at the start of this video. So if you are someone who is thinking of buying a home in the Surrey or surrounding areas, and maybe you're feeling a little lost in what to do next, fill out these questions and we will send you the answers because I bet you're probably not going to get most of them right. And of course, if you do want to book a time to speak with me and my team about your home purchasing journey, as always, we've got a link below where you can do that as well. Hey, look, I want to thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your comments on the videos, and we'll definitely look forward to getting you on the next one. Good luck to you out there, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers.